Brother lads, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. Bit of a positive update from Mikel arteta yesterday with his transfer remarks, saying that we are doing anything that we can to sign a striker. And of course he says that he's confident in his efforts and the club, what we are doing. Is very confident that probably it could actually give us something positive. We'll be talking about Ollie Watkins as well. Looks like Villa selling Duran means that Watkins will be staying. Emery says that they want him to stay, and he's one of the players that are really committed to the Villa project. We'll talk about that as well. And then Mathys Tel has turned down Spurs. He's waiting for offers from Chelsea, Manchester United, and Arsenal. Will Arsenal jump onto it? Villa, Spurs were willing to pay up to 60 million euros. Is that a deal that we could do? Possibly, possibly not. We'll talk about that. Then we'll talk about Naipan, whose decision is to stay at Rosenborg. Again, I think Arsenal failed here. He's an 18-year-old who's been very, very excited about moving to Europe abroad. And I think that was a massive opportunity for a club like us that are short in midfield and in attack. But again, we've not done that. So we'll talk about Naipan too. I mean, it's just a couple of failures. We'll talk about Evan Ferguson's 40 million asking price. Could that be something that Arsenal could just go, let's do this. We've failed to do everything else. Let's just do this. We'll talk about that too as well. But let's start off with Mikel arteta. Yesterday, he was talking about the transfer, and was asked about whether Arsenal are really going to do something in that attacking forward position. And he said, listen, we are very, very confident in what we are doing. We are very confident in what the club is doing. We might not get Ollie Watkins, and I'm not going to talk about names in particular, but the club is doing everything they can to get a player in, and that player could be Ollie Watkins, or that player could be anyone else. Now, obviously, if you remember, Arsenal sent in a bid of around 60 million. I mean, initial reports from Fabrizio said it was 60 million, and then a few other sources said it was 45. But whichever way it is, we sent in a bid for Ollie Watkins, and it was quite cheeky, but it was quite ambitious as well, because you don't expect Villa to sell in January. So Mikel says we are confident and we're trying to do everything. Now, my problem with the club Arsenal is, why would you send in a bid on the same day that John Duran is going to be sold by Aston Villa? Why would you wait for 30 days for you to send in a bid for Ollie Watkins? I mean, if you send in a 60 million bid for Ollie Watkins on the first day or second day of January, probably Aston Villa are assessing their options. We know that they've been in a crazy FFP situation. We know that they wanted to keep John Duran as part of the long-term project. So probably if Arsenal had gone ahead to bid a little bit earlier, I'm thinking it could have been different. And we waited for 30 days. Villa cannot replace Ollie Watkins, in one day. So obviously they're going to turn down your bid. So I think that's where the problem is. I'm still quite confident that we're working on something. We have seen a couple of approaches. We have seen Arsenal contacting Bayern for Mathys Tel. We have seen Arsenal contacting, Osimhen's camp for Osimhen. And we've seen a few things which shows that we're working on something. The only problem that I have is, why do we work on these things so late? Why do we take a long period of time, working on these deals? What is going on internally? What is the friction that is happening internally that is blocking us from trying to sign players a little bit earlier on? Now, the remarks of Mikel mean a couple of things. One, if you're really positive like me, they really mean that we might see something happen in the next 24 hours. It ends on Monday, February 3rd. So we might see something happen then, right? It could also mean, though, and this is where the problem is, it could also mean that we've done everything we could and we didn't get anyone. Now, we're going to be running through a couple of names that Arsenal have been really heavy on and where that could lead. But if I'm seeing John Duran going for 75 million euros to Saudi Arabia, if I'm seeing 65 million bids for Karo Mitoma, if I'm seeing Kavicha Kvaratskhelia for 67 million, I am not convinced that Arsenal have done whatever they could. I'm still I kind of feel like we could have done better, and I don't think we've done better. That's where my worry is. I don't think we've done better. I don't think we are the club that can proudly say we've tried to maximize the opportunities in January. I mean, you didn't fight for Kvaratskhelia. Bakola is there. You've not tried to get him. Marco Asensio, probably PSG will get him. I don't think we are the club that have been most ambitious. And maybe we didn't need to be the most ambitious club, but we needed to be proactive, we needed to be active, and we've been neither, right? So Mikel says he's confident, and he says he's proud of what we've done so far, which is basically nothing. But he says we are trying everything we can. So let's get into the updates of particular players. Let's start off with Mathys Tel, because for me, Tel right now is a big deal. And it could be kind of a panic buy where we overpay. But I could see a Mathys Tel kind of deal happen for a club like Arsenal. I think Arsenal realized that the fans are really, really angry. There is a disconnect that is starting to grow between the club administration and the fans, and that is something that we had not seen in a long time. Ever since Mikel came, he fixed that. The fans were always behind the team, and we've been always behind the same. But there is now increasing debate of the seriousness of the club. More and more fans are questioning the direction of the project and all that, which in turn makes me wonder: do Arsenal really care about what the fans say? So Mathys Tel, recently, I reported that Arsenal had made contact with Bayern Munich to try and get the deal done. What I didn't say is that Spurs had accepted to pay 60 million euros, and they had leapfrogged Arsenal, Manchester United, and Chelsea in trying to sign Tel. So eventually, what happened, and this is quite very, very interesting. Eventually, what happened is that Tel has told Spurs he's not going to join them. He doesn't want to do the deal with them. He doesn't want to be part of their project. And now that means that it's Chelsea, Arsenal, and Manchester United. Now, to be fair to Manchester United, I think they're quite ambitious, but they don't have 60 million. They don't have 50 million for Mathys Tel. They don't have that kind of money. And why I think they don't have that kind of money is it's been very, very clear they need to sell in order to buy. They brought in Dogu at 35 million euros. I think that's the maximum they can go in this window. Chelsea are ones to watch because they've made a 70 million euro bid for Garnacho before, which was turned down by Manchester United. So I'm thinking if they have made 70 million euros a bid for Manchester United, could they easily make 60 million euros for Tel? Where Arsenal come in is there are a few reports that have been saying that Arsenal have been, monitoring and asking for information about this deal, and Bayern told us that the deal is possible. But what is very, very important actually for us is that we have the money. So 70 million, 60 million, 50 million, we have the money. The question is, are we willing to spend it on Mathys Tel? I mean, he's a winger, can play as a striker. We have a crisis, so do Spurs. I think it's going to go down between Arsenal and Chelsea for Mathys Tel. I could see this one end with Chelsea winning it again. Chelsea taking Mathys Tel, but it really doesn't matter. But I think it's one Arsenal should do. It's one we could jump on. When it comes to Ollie Watkins, it was always going to be difficult, right? Because we reported that Arsenal had made the bid out of nowhere. I don't know our internal discussions. I don't know how we ended up with Ollie Watkins, but we made the bid for Watkins, right? What is important and what the bid for Watkins shows you is that we are more willing to go for players that Mikel thinks are long-term than players that are just showing up. So Mathys Tel is not a long-term prospect for Mikel Arteta. And what that tells you is, regardless of what happens, Arteta is not so much interested in, Mathys Tel, because he never wanted, if he had all his options available, Mathys Tel was not among his options, right? So I'm going to say Watkins is one to watch, right? One to watch, especially for the summer. For January, it's pretty much done. Emery was speaking about it, and he said, listen, at the moment, we don't want to sell. We don't want to sell. He wants to stay. He's committed. We have already sold Duran, and that's the end of it. So I think it's one that might trouble Villa in the summer, but I don't think it's one that's going to really, really trouble them this January transfer window. So someone asked me a question. Where do you see this window going? And I want to answer that in two ways. One, I can see Arsenal signing no one, and not because that's what I want to happen, but I know this club. I mean, we all support Arsenal. We know this club. We are a shambles, a pack of shambolic, idiots that make our transfers. And this is not only to this administration. It goes back, way, way, way back. I can see Arsenal putting up an excuse that they tried to get Watkins, they failed. They tried to get maybe Duran, they failed. And that's how we didn't sign anyone. In reality, right? In reality, I think Arsenal have not done enough. Like for me, the Sivia Naipan deal, that is what shows that we've not done enough. Like if you have Sivia Naipan as one of your targets, he's 18 at Rosenborg, you literally can go and get that deal done. And somehow we've not done the deal. Steven Nepen stays at Rosenborg. He's not going to City, he's not going to Girona, he's not going to Chelsea, he's not going to Manchester United. He stays at Rosenborg. That is like the worst kind of work you could put in for a deal. Absolutely shambolic. So I can see Arsenal not sign anyone, typical of Arsenal. And the second way is how the summer ended. A panic buy like Raheem Sterling. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do a panic buy like Raheem Sterling. Like, it has happened before. Like, Raheem Sterling is one of them. But remember the market where we brought in Cedric Suarez, and then there's a market where we brought in Denis Suarez, and then there was a market where we brought in Kim Colostrum. It is typical of Arsenal that they will try to silence fan pressure by doing an idiotic signing. Now, in this case, I don't know who the idiotic signing is going to be, but I can see a panic buy coming. And a panic buy that's going to just sit on the bench and never play any kind of football, or just be as trash as Raheem Sterling. The two deals on Ivan Ferguson and Steven Naipan. With Naipan, the reasons as to why he decided to stay at Rosenborg is to give himself more time and then make a decision for the summer. That's okay. I mean, more people are saying that Arsenal in poor position to sign him in the summer. I think for an 18-year-old who is that good, and Arsenal have Ethan Nwaneri, who is a 17-year-old, and he is that good too, I think he would have added something, especially with Emil Smith-Rowe and Fabio Vieira gone. He would have, given us a bit of something that didn't happen. Then let's talk about Ivan Ferguson. Ivan Ferguson is going to cost in excess of 30 million euros, but less than 40 million euros. For me, that's a deal you got to do. It's a deal you got to do because if you're looking for the next Erling Haaland, I think it's Ivan Ferguson. Now, why I would say it's a good deal is Ivan Ferguson as a striker is better than Kai Havertz, and he wouldn't really cost so much that Arsenal can't go and get Mikel Arteta's main target. For instance, if Arteta wants Isak, I think Ivan Ferguson can be a great competition to Alexander Isak. But also listen to this. Ivan Ferguson as a centre forward, as a traditional centre forward, is so different, and it gives you another kind of dynamic to a player like Alexander Isak or Gabriel Jesus. He is not about occupying midfield spaces and doing all that crap. He's about scoring goals. He's about pushing. He's about shooting. He's about heading balls into the back of the net. That is Ivan Ferguson. So I would still say Ivan Ferguson for 40 million. Arsenal cannot loan him. It can't be a loan deal because you can only loan two players from the Premier League in a single season, and we have already done that. We have Neto and we also have Raheem Sterling. But for me, for 40 million, why aren't we all over this deal? Why aren't we all over it? Like, for me, the future of Kai Havertz is not at centre forward. You need two very good centre forwards, one to back up the other and provide competition, and that could be Ivan Ferguson for 40 million and Benjamin Sesko for 70 million. That's 110 million at centre forward, and the goals are guaranteed. So I mean, I know you want me to do a little bit of a better storytelling, the story's done and all that, but it's very, very quiet, it's very blank around Arsenal, and that shows that this club is really, really struggling to get someone done. In January, I've seen something like Michael Asensio. I think the sporting director at Aston Villa, Monty, was talking about Asensio, Arsenal and Villa, and was saying Arsenal are really not much interested in Asensio. Would I want Asensio? There's a time when I wanted him, but now I'm not sure about him. Bakola at PSG after Kavicha Kvaratskhelia going there. Is Bakola something we could do? Maybe. Rashford, is that a position that we could, operate? I don't know. Then Osimhen as well, available for around 55 million. I don't think Mikel Arteta is looking at Osimhen as a long-term target. Otherwise, we could have done the deal already. So it's shambolic. It's very, very complicated. But like I said, Mikel is confident in the work they're doing, and that is all that matters right now.